Guesting Masterclass. I am your host, Jessica Rhodes. I'm the founder and co-owner of Interview Connections. And since 2013, we have booked over 30,000 podcast interviews for more than 800 entrepreneurs. And if you are here in this masterclass on day 3, it's because you have knowledge to share, you have a strategy, a methodology, a way of working that you know has the power to change lives, that has the power to change people's businesses. And it is your duty to do everything that you can to make that knowledge available to the people who need it. And that is the power of being a guest on podcasts. You get in front of people who are seeking out the knowledge you have, and you have this long form conversation opportunity to actually share it. I was just notified I'm the host, so I think we have lost Douglas. You guys are going to bear with me while he comes back in. So joining me today are 6 entrepreneurs who have invested in our Amplified Authority program, who work with us at Interview Connections to get booked on podcasts. And they've come here generously giving their time to share their wisdom with you, to give you their top tips for success, to reveal to you what it has looked like to get booked on podcasts consistently every month, and to also share what's it like to work with a podcast booking agency. They decided they didn't want to just do this themselves. They wanted to work with Interview Connections, and they're here to share that with you. Quick reminder, the replays of the Podcast Guesting Masterclass expire on Tuesday at midnight. Tuesday, the 25th at midnight is when they expire. So go to interviewconnections.com/replays. And if you haven't already, book your consultation call with us at interviewconnections.com/call. Our masterclass discounts and bonus gifts will expire on Tuesday. So get your call on the books with myself or with Douglas so we can make sure it's a good fit and get you started. So we are going to dive right in. I'm going to see if we have sweet Douglas in the waiting room. So we can take back over Zoom hosting duties. And Dr. Jordan Romano, you are our first speaker. So I'm going to have you come off of mute and join me on the virtual stage. Hi.
How are you? Can everybody hear me?
Oh, I'm doing great. So
this is impressive. You've got a big crowd. This is really exciting.
Thank you. I'm super excited that you're here. So Jordan, share, kind of introduce yourself to everyone, how you found us, how you got started, that type of stuff.
Serendipity. I will say it was a Google search, and it was the first person I reached out to, and it wasn't even your team at that point. You did the initial sales call. I mean, Jess is so on point. For me, it was a very easy decision. I tend to be a type of individual that goes with my gut. Backing up a little bit, my name is Dr. Jordan Romano. I founded and run medicalexpertwitness.com. I help train and match medical expert witnesses with lawyers to provide services in the medical legal arena. I used to do mentorship kind of bespoke and behind the scenes, but in recent years, I bought the domain medicalexpertwitness.com and started an agency to help other physicians kind of doing what I wish I had when I started doing this about a decade ago. I had started an effort to put my name out there, and I'm part of a mastermind. And when I was at that mastermind, they were like, "Oh, you need to hire somebody to help you do this." Because I'm like, I've only gotten on 4 podcasts, and they were pretty good, but it was like people I saw on LinkedIn. And I was like, you know what? I've started getting into this space where I'm like, you know what? I'm investing in myself. I'm investing in my business, and I need to hire people who do X, Y, or Z for a living to help me. And I believed in Jess. I didn't know anybody personally. I just kind of leapt, and I made a decision, and here we are. And it's been, I don't know, 6 or 8 months, something like that.
Yeah. And talk about the experience, just the client experience, because that's something that you sent me that email. We kind of send an automated, how are things going? It's been about a month. What's the experience? And you sent a really nice testimonial. So can you speak from the client experience? Because I think sometimes when people are considering hiring a company to do something, they're like, is this really good sales and marketing? And it's going to be really bad on the inside. What's it actually been like working with us?
Amazing. Better than I could ever have hoped. I mean, so when you do a podcast, obviously unless the person pulls their stuff down, it's going to live there forever. And so, I've done, and some of this is based on my scheduling, right? I've maybe done 6 or 8 podcasts, and these are not This is not Joe Rogan. These are people who have like 100 views or 50 views. And I just got off I'm not making this up. This even happened since we spoke. Last night, I had somebody sign up who's like my perfect avatar. She's basically trying to throw money at me to do an upgrade mentorship, which pays for 80% of interview connections for in perpetuity. And that just happened last night. And what I had told Jess was there was another one that I had 2 weeks ago. And so basically I don't have a very exciting call to action. It's check me out at medicalexpertwitness.com. I'd love to hear your story. If you want to hear more about my agency, schedule a time to chat with me there. That's it. And we're working on making that a little bit better. But even with just that, it's been impressive. The response, even on these small sort of niche podcasts, it's been fantastic. It's been the team is quick. You know, a lot of times when you put up, I mean, it's not a trivial amount of money, but a lot of times when you put up, when you invest in something, you're hoping that like, geez, when I send an email, will people get back to me? I mean, I just emailed Dan. I mean, 2 minutes, he was back to me. Oh, it's great. You know, thanks for doing X, Y, and Z, and everything I had hoped for, it's been exceeded. The team is professional. The calls that you have, you know, I hop on them. I learned from the individuals. I'm a physician, but I'm learning from everybody else that are there in the group as well. And so I couldn't have designed it better myself, I guess is the best way I would put it.
Thank you. And I like how you pointed out, like, these are small podcasts, and I think we can kind of gather from what you've shared your target audience, but I'd love for you to share more about like who your target market is, because the thing is, when you have a very niche clientele, the shows are probably going to be smaller. So talk a little bit about your target market.
Yeah. So my target market is, I mean, my avatar, if you will, straight like getting hyper niche. It's physicians. I've new physicians into the medical expert witness space. I am kind of pivoting into that, but for the most part, people who will sign up right away and like this woman who hit me up last night, it's individuals who have done some expert witnessing. They like it. They've been told and they have gotten independent feedback that they're good at it. They've spent some money or are willing to spend some money in the space. Maybe they've placed an advertisement. Maybe they've taken a course. And they usually have some sort of financial incentive. They're an empty nester. They want to stop working nights and weekends. And then the sixth thing is like, they don't know what they've tried some things, and it's like throwing, playing pin the tail on the donkey blindfolded. They're not really sure what else to do. They've tried some things and maybe had some results, but they don't know how to improve. Now, this is also version 1.0. It will soon go into nurses who testify and physician assistants and nurse practitioners. Basically, I would say all allied health professionals, but for the most part, it's by physicians for physicians. So it's very hyper niche, but the conversion on individuals who have listened to these podcasts that I've been on, and this is, again, we're like 8 months in, and I've had 3 now. Well, she'll sign this contract. I'm pretty certain of it. 3 people sign up for mentorship on top of my agency, which has a fee associated with it. So I've made in 8 months multiples of my initial investment, and those podcasts are going to be on the internet for years. So I can't speak highly enough for your team, Jess. You know this. I've told you this lots of times. It's just been a tremendous experience, and we're still going. Like that's what's exciting for me.
I love it. And to Jordan's point, for everyone watching, like, our Amplified Authority program guarantees that you'll be on 30 podcasts. And most of our clients have about 3 bookings a month, but that can space out. For some clients, maybe it's a little bit slower of a pace because of their schedule. We don't stop at a certain period of time. So I think Jordan said like 6 to 8 podcasts, but we're 8 months in. So we'll be with Jordan for probably more than a year to get these 30 podcasts. So that's how it works with us. It's not just like a timed, retainer type of model. And so to see the results that he's getting already from 6 to 8 podcasts with small viewership, but have the right target market, that's really the beauty of this strategy.
I was shocked. I mean, the woman who hit me up last night is, it's exactly who should be reaching out to me. And listen, I've had some misses. I've had some people reach out and I'm like, you know what, you probably should take a course first. I could help you, but it's just too heavy of a lift. I think you'd best be served by doing X, Y, or Z. And from a business perspective, I'm working on partnerships so that I can still capture some of that revenue. But the attention, right? Like that's what we're all looking for in business. It's like you can't help people or provide a service if people don't know about you. And what I'm impressed by is I wasn't even really convinced initially. I was just like, these guys are these rinky-dink podcasts. But if you think about it, and a lot of you probably have heard of this, but if you think about it, like if 50 people are seeing this, would you like to have an auditorium with 50 or 100 people? I mean, most of the conferences I go to as a physician, like at least in the hospital, probably don't have 50 or 100 people in it. So would you like to be in an auditorium with 50 or 100 people, listening to you as the authority? And it's just the answer to me is clearly yes. And clearly, if you get to the right person and your message is on point, and that's the other thing I would say is I am by far not a professional at speaking on podcasts. And the wraparound services that Jess and her team provide also have helped me a lot in improving my message, improving the offering. This isn't just booking you on a podcast; it's really helping your business. I think that's and that's just all bonus. It's like you're getting essentially business advice for free on top of it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, after Jordan signed up, I listened to some of the podcasts that he had been a guest on, basically auditing them, giving him some feedback. And that's something that you get when you work with us is we'll actually listen to your interviews. We'll get you on the right shows. We'll listen because there's one thing you can get on the right shows, but if you bomb the interview, your stories don't land, your call to action isn't right, like you're not going to get the best results. So we're here to kind of be that coach on the sideline to help direct you to being the best guest that you can be. And then it's all about practicing, right? Because you can learn everything in a vacuum, but if you don't execute it correctly, you're not going to see the results and the success. Yeah. Are there any other pieces of wisdom that you would like to share with the hundreds of people that are going to watch this session and thinking about working with us?
It's an investment, so you have to commit to it. And I think that's the cool part is Jess's team is great. And so that the sheet that they put together to market you, et cetera, I would say let them do their job and just I don't know your individual business, but to me and for the individuals I've spoken to, the return on investment has been tremendous. But part of that is by also committing to the investment and being open-minded to, some of the things that I heard, listen, I'm a well-educated physician. Some of the things I heard, I'm like, I don't know. Are you really sure? And then at a certain point, I just was like, I just need to, she's the professional in this space. I need to listen to her advice and I'm just going to give it 6 months and see what happens. And I'm telling you, I'm blown away. And so don't suffer alone. I would say, if you're thinking of signing up, just sign up and join those groups because I have learned her service is amazing, but these other groups, you're going to learn from people that are, hey, I've tried that. And this, somebody who wrote a book and they're like, I was on a call and everybody's talking about the book they wrote. And I'm like, I haven't written a book. And they're like, oh, to sell more, do this, or why don't you split up this? And it's like all this free mentorship. So really, if you're going to sign up, commit to it and go to the meetings and listen and, challenge Jess and her team to get value out of it. I was nervous. I'll be honest with you. Like I made the decision very quickly, but I was nervous. But I looking back on it, my gosh, it was such an amazing investment for my business that's already paid for itself in 4 months, 6 months, it paid for itself. So I would say don't hesitate if you're looking on doing it and listen to her advice. It's not even just about getting you. That's the other thing I would say is it's not even just about getting you on podcasts. I mean, Jess has built a very successful business herself. And so you're listening to a woman who has grown and built a business and in a space that's gotten more and more competitive. She still is at the top of her game and at the top of all the competitors that are trying to take her out. This is somebody you want to listen to. She's been in business for a long time and has remained relevant and successful. So you can't go wrong.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jordan.
Great seeing you.
Yeah, great seeing you too. medicalexpertwitness.com. If you're a medical expert, reach out to Jordan.
That's right. Thanks so much.
Bye, Jordan.
Take care.
All right. Next up, so book a call. If you are not excited after that, you are not listening. So book a call with us. Interviewconnections.com/call is how you can get on our calendar for a consultation. And next up, we have Sue Willoughby. Sue, come on up.
Hello, hello, hello. Thanks, Jessica. I appreciate you having me on the show, or in the masterclass, whatever the heck we're in here.
Masterclass show.
I love it. I love it.
Super
So fun.
excited. Well, please introduce yourself to our masterclass here. Who are you? What do you do? And talk about, you just wrapped up your first year podcast guesting. Now you're with us for year 2. So talk a little bit about, who you are, what you do, and your experience so far.
Yeah. Welcome, masterclassers, and potential interview connection folks. I look forward to seeing you out there. My name is Sue Willoughby. I am a experiential life coach, and I work with horses. So my life coaching is a little bit unique. And I typically work with, my avatar is women over 40, typically end up working with women who are 50 and above through various life transformations. And the horses really help with that. So I have kind of a really unique niche, I would say.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like how you blend the work with horses, which is very in person, and now building your business online. So, we've got some love in the chat. We've got Sue. I love this.
Thank you. This is awesome.
So, talk about like why just over a year ago when you signed up with Interview Connections, like did you have any fears or hesitations? Like what was going on for you when you made that decision to invest in growing your business online with podcast guesting?
Yeah, great question. I was actually in a really high-end mentorship group. And I'm in the process of building my brand, as Jessica mentioned, and I wanted to extend that brand. And I know that the way to extend your brand is to get in front of other people's audiences, whether it's through speaking or podcasting or whatever. And I had been also wanting to start my own podcast. And so for me, this was a no-brainer because I too also was doing a Google search about how to, because, all right, let's face it, I'm lazy. I have a lot of, I'm not lazy, but I have a lot of things going on. And I don't want to spend a lot of time doing administrivia, right? To go out there, find the podcast, try and reach out to the hosts and everything like that. So I knew enough to start looking for a service to do this. And Interview Connections was like one of the first ones that came up. And I also really, I'll be honest, I love the fact that they had an LGBT QAI component. And so I was like, okay, I want to talk to these people just because that spoke to me as well. And I spoke directly with Jessica. I don't even think I attended a masterclass. It was like at the end. I think
you registered for it and then had a call before the masterclass. And we're like, do I have to go to the masterclass? And I'm like, I mean, you don't have to.
Right. Right. And I was kind of like easy. I'm like, well, where do I sign? I mean, I was all in from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I knew that the service that they provided was super valuable. I knew that it would allow me to reach the people that I want to reach. And I love the fact that they really do the research. I also it's important to me that my brand, and I am my brand, are represented in a very specific way and a very professional way. And I've always been that way in business, that even if it's just me, the mouse in the house, I want to come across as a professional entity. And Jessica actually did you did my one sheet, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was lucky. Jessica was like, here, let me just do your one sheet for you. I'm like, cool. And it was great. And they present me in a very professional manner. I don't even think it hasn't even been quite a year. And I wrapped up like my 30 podcasts in just a few months. And it may have something to do with the fact that I have kind of a weird, interesting background and
Yeah, your story is compelling. And I want to share a quick story to illustrate something that Sue said about how we do our research. So we are a remote team. We're all full-time local employees. We all work from home. And then about once a month, we all get together at this co-working space. And so a couple months ago, me and Douglas and the whole booking team were together in this co-working space. And we're all kind of like, if you can picture, like around this big like conference room table, and we're strategizing. And we were putting together a pitch for Sue's show because Sue has her own podcast. And so we were recommending guests. And so Sue had said her target audience, so typically women over 40. And so the team is talking, they're like, okay, who has a client that would be good for Sue's show? And one person was like, I think my client would be, but I'm not sure if she's 40. We were like, we really make sure that who we're recommending is the right fit. And I was talking to Sue, and Sue's like, they don't have to be 40 exactly. And but I'm like, no, we actually make sure that who we're recommending is a good fit for what that host is looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, I don't care. It doesn't bother me. But the other thing I want to say is that I have also received feedback from the shows that I've been on, which have been many now, and they will tell me, hey, I got to say that, I get a lot of requests for people to be on my show. And the way that you show up is professional. The way that your booking agency works is very professional. And we love that. We know that you're going to be a good fit for our show. And also, you're going to show up. I mean, you've got the right equipment, you've got the right everything. And I'm not just going to be on there and just mumbling and bumbling about stuff. So they appreciate the prep that Jessica and her team put in to, getting you ready. And maybe your first couple of shows are going to, feel a little awkward, but that's okay. I mean, it is practice, and these are smaller shows. But I will say the hosts that I've met, the connections that I've made around the globe. I've literally been interviewed by a couple of people in Australia. And now, I mean, one of them, Christine Blasdale, is awesome. And I'm part of her mastermind now. So the connections that you make are really, really intimate. And it's going to be like in a short period of time that you're with this person. So the impression that you leave them with not only ripples, it's not only about you and your business, but it also ripples out to interview connections and all of the other guests that they're posting. So, it's all good.
I love it. Is there any other like words of wisdom or tips that you can share with our audience, people, entrepreneurs here who are thinking about getting booked on podcasts and want to make sure that they have an ROI? What would be your biggest success tip for them?
Yeah, for me, I think my ROI is a little bit different than maybe some other people. Like I said, I really am curious about, or I'm really trying to build my brand. And I know that my brand is going to have more of a ripple effect. And so because I'm in the coaching space and I'm in the process of building my online coaching business, I also do in-person retreats, and I have several of those coming up in the coming year where I co-facilitate things. So I may be driving people to different aspects of my business. But if you have a specific product or a specific service, this is the way to pitch it, because the thing is, it's maybe you only have 50 people on your current email list, right? This is a great way. You're borrowing someone else's audience. So I can't even begin to tell you how valuable that is. So nail down whatever it is your call to action, and be sure that, you're sending people where you want them to go.
Yeah, absolutely. And tell us like where you're located, where your retreats are, so that if anyone here is in the area or wants to travel to be with you at that retreat, how can they find you online?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. I am outside of the Seattle area, and the best way to find me is on Instagram. It's at Sue_Willoughby. And I don't know, you may put this in the chat or something, Jessica. And my website is willoughbycoaching.com. And if you want to know about my retreats /events, I have 2 coming up, one at the end of May and one in October, both in Paso Robles, California. So if you're in the California area, they're 3-day events, and it's spending time with horses and myself and my co-facilitator in nature. It's a great thing. And then in September, I'm doing a retreat in Colorado. Same kind of deal, co-facilitating with another Equus coach. So yeah, check it out. I'd love to see you.
I love it. I love it. And as a reminder, we have a workbook section for session 3. So I have some places here where you can write down the names and websites of the speakers here that you want to connect with. Like maybe you are really drawn to Sue and what she talks about, and you're kind of in her target market. Write her name and Instagram down so you don't forget. Maybe you're a medical expert and you want to connect with Jordan. So make sure you're using your workbook today too, because there's a lot of great connections. And I don't want you to be like, wait, who is that person I heard? So Sue, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk to everybody.
Awesome. All right. So book your consultation call. You could be our next success story. Like in our next masterclass, you could be speaking on session 3, sharing about how amazing podcast guesting has been for you. So our next speaker is Christina L. Woods. Christina, come on up.
Hello.
Hi, Christina. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Okay. So Christina has worked with us. I think you're in year 3 or 4. Like you've been here for a while now.
I am.
Absolutely. So to introduce yourself to everyone, and you could, like, you and I was going to say, we could talk for a full hour on this. We've already done that up on our YouTube channel. We can dive deep. So you'll have to kind of abbreviate your success story, but introduce yourself and kind of what's the journey been like for you and working with Interview Connections for podcast guesting.
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. I'm Christina Woods, and I'm a hypnotherapist. I'm a life coach, an empowerment coach, and an energy healer. And I primarily work with women, although because of podcasting, that has certainly expanded. But I do work with women, high achieving women, women who juggle a lot, who do a lot. And I work with them on releasing limiting beliefs, the belief of people pleasing, imposter syndrome, and just work toward a life of fulfillment and believing that they can actually, yes, have it all. So that's what I do. And I started working with Interview Connections early on in this career. I had a 30-year corporate career, completely different identity that I invested quite a bit of myself into. And I became, later in life, this hypnotherapist and energy healer. And I came to a masterclass just like all of you. And I knew that I needed a quick way to build credibility in a brand new career. And I was doing my thing, enjoying seeing people, but I really wanted to share my personal journey. Was also part of this professional journey and decision to make a career change. And I thought, what better way than sharing what I do? I had no way of really understanding the impact that and the ripple effect that podcasts would have. But that's why I signed up. Was, all right, this is a new thing for me, and I really want to build credibility. So that's what started. And absolutely, I had a lot of fears with that. I had a lot of imposter syndrome myself. So kind of ironic. That's what I helped people with. So
yeah, like I would love to talk a little bit about that, because sometimes, like, there are fears and hesitations, especially, like, not especially, but going through this masterclass, we talk to folks that are like, they kind of like qualify themselves out. They're like, oh, I'm not ready for you yet. And sometimes it's just not the right fit. Like we've said, like Interview Connections is not for everyone, and that's totally fine. But I do sometimes see people that this is a really good fit for, and they're like, but nope, I'm not the right fit. And I'm like,
sure.
Is there a fear there? So talk a little bit about that for you.
Yeah, I'm happy to, because I almost did that to myself. I almost knocked myself out of this, and that would have been really terrible. Now I've done almost over 100 now podcasts, so I need to celebrate that with you. We'll have to share the cake or something. But yeah, I thought that I wasn't established enough. I thought that I needed to be more established to be able to go on a podcast, that I didn't have enough stories to share, that I hadn't done this long enough. And I think what I didn't realize was that, on a podcast, these are authentic conversations, and that whatever you're doing, you're bringing everything to the conversations. You're bringing stories, you're bringing all of you to the conversation. And I didn't realize that. I also thought that, I didn't bring enough. Again, I hadn't been in business long enough. I almost didn't know you'd take my money. I thought, well, what are they going to need? Are they going to need bank statements? I mean, I don't know. All these stories were in my head about what I would need. And the truth is that if whatever you're doing, whatever you're selling, a product, a service, whatever it is, there are people that need you and need what you offer and the value that you offer. And I think that's what I forgot about for a moment there. And luckily I didn't let that stop me. So yeah, those stories were definitely running over here and kind of made them small, luckily.
I'm so glad. So give us some highlights and we'll drop a link to our full webinar. So for folks that are like, oh, I want to hear everything, I'll drop a link to that in the chat, but give us some of the highlights of the biggest wins you've had over the past 100 podcasts.
Yeah. So every year I double or triple my return on investment. And probably if I did the math, it would be more than that. So that's a no-brainer. It's one of my biggest marketing avenues and channels for my business. But I've got a magazine cover on Brains Magazine. They found me through podcasting. I was on their podcast, which was lots of millions of viewers, which opened up many, many doors for me. I've been asked to be a speaker through podcasting. I've made a lot of connections through podcasting. What I did not expect was how many hosts through networking have become clients, their family members, their children, their spouses. So it's just been this ripple effect. I've been invited to be speakers at retreats. I've been invited to partner with other people to host retreats, and just the confidence and the networking and the relationships. And another bonus has been I've expanded my messaging, my business. There have been areas where I have noticed that listeners have been more interested in certain topics that I didn't even realize. And so it's allowed me to say, okay, looks like people want to know more about this or know more about that. And so those are the types of things, just by having authentic conversations, that you realize, all right, this is something that people need more of. So
yeah. And the biggest thing that I want to highlight from this is all of these successes, these wins, these learnings, it came because Christina has been consistent.
yes,
She gets interviewed on podcasts every single month. When her package is finished, she renews and she does another round. It's not this like, let me stop and like see if it worked. It's like she knows the visibility is good. She's learning, she's adapting, she's evolving. Her business is growing. She's making other investments. She's joining masterminds. She's building her social media, but it's forward motion. It's consistent motion. The biggest thing that I see that stops entrepreneurs is they put their foot on the brake and they stop. And they see if it worked. Christina has kept going. She hasn't stopped.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there were times where I've had to revisit with your team like this. Okay, let's look at this. Let's redo this. Let's look at the one sheet. Or frankly, I'm not that excited to talk about these topics anymore. I don't feel the excitement. Let's change the topics. Or I wasn't repurposing the content enough. What can I do? So yeah, being consistent has been the biggest lesson, not just about podcasting, but about everything, right? Like just be consistent with it and you'll start to see and reap the benefits and the rewards. And it's been incredible. And I mean, just recently I was on a podcast, I would say over 2 years ago. And now I am working with this host's children. And, it wasn't even a connection that I stayed in touch with her, but she saw a post about something else. And here we are reconnected, but I already had that rapport with her. So it was already there. That connection was already there.
It's amazing. And sometimes people hear you and they're not quite ready to make an investment in your service, but you stay top of mind. And when you keep getting on podcasts, they see you pop up, you stay on their radar. And so be consistent, keep moving forward, keep taking action, stay in alignment. And the biggest thing that makes it easy to stay consistent is outsourcing the pitching and booking. Because if it's only up to you to pitch and book and secure your interviews, like it's very, very hard to do it all yourself, which is why working with a podcast booking agency is key. So book your consultation call. Because if you're inspired by this, like get on a call with us to see if we're the right fit for you, because being consistent means you need help. You can't do it all yourself.
Yeah. And I will add, I am a part of a few masterminds where I pay a good amount of money to be a part of these masterminds, and I get great value from them. But I have been invited to many podcasts with the people in those masterminds that haven't been that great. Half of them don't even post the podcasts. Half of them don't follow up. Maybe they put it on YouTube, maybe they don't. And it's been flaky Jake. It's just not been that great. And I think I always think, oh, these are freebies, these are extras. They end up being extra work is what they end up being. So some of them have been good, but some of them, most of them have not been good. And I think, well, isn't this interesting? You think I'm in a network, I'm going to get on everyone's podcast, but the ones that have been consistent are the ones that you guys have booked for me. So I just need to say,
sorry, that just made me laugh so much. They're extras, they're extra work. And that's kind of like, because they're like, oh, I can get on some podcast, people on LinkedIn, freebies. But do they end up being the right fit? Well, if you didn't have a qualified expert booking agent actually hand select them for you based on your goals and your target audience, they might not actually move the needle. So
or they try to sell you something. Yeah.
So tell everyone, I put the link in the chat here to our webinar. So if you guys want more from Christina and me, the link is in the chat, but where can people find you online?
Sure. My website is ChristinaLWoods.com, and Instagram is a great place, Christina.lwoods.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here. And it was so good to see you.
Thank you.
All right. Next, we have Karlyn. Come on up.
Hello, hello.
Hi. It's so good to see you. Where are you? Hold on. There we go. There's Karlyn.
Over here. Over here. I'm not in my usual space today.
Oh,
so.
that's okay. That's okay. So Karlyn and I were DMing on Instagram, and she told me a really great win from podcast guesting. And I was like, will you come to the masterclass and share this story? So please introduce yourself, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and talk about, your success with podcast guesting.
Cool. So I'm Karlyn Ankrom. I'm the founder and lead strategist at OSnap Social. We're a social media agency dedicated to creating compelling content that ultimately converts. And I already knew that podcasting was successful in landing me clients because I did it before I even hired Interview Connections. And I was like, there's something here. But I also know I don't have a lot of time and a lot of energy or expertise to, go forth and find those right hosts with the right audience at the right time. And so that's where I needed Interview Connections help. And I will say that the team was incredible. They listened to me, which is great. And they also listened when I was having a challenge or when a host wouldn't get back to us, or they were really great at working back and forth with us. Or if I wanted to change an audience, or for a while I was getting booked on a lot of mom entrepreneur podcasts. I was like, I think this is really great. Can we pivot and try to find these types of podcasts? Because for me, I had no interest in being on any marketing podcast because that was not my audience. I'm not trying to appeal to other marketers. I'm trying to appeal to other people who need marketing assistance. And so that was a really great back and forth relationship that we had. I think someone already talked about the amazing chart, Excel sheet. We still use that actually. And my team
highlight
uses that
real
to track.
quick. I'll just explain that real quick because maybe it was mentioned in passing, but we have when you work with Interview Connections, you'll have we call it a co-tracker. So it's a Google spreadsheet. And when we book you for a podcast interview, we log it on the co-tracker. And so we'll put the date of the connection, the host name, and then you can put the date of the recording and then the date that it goes live. So as it's getting filled out, you're all your podcast interviews are on that co-tracker. So back to you. I just wanted to explain what that was.
Yeah. And we even expanded on the use case of that because like I said, being that I'm in the social media landscape, I am the repurposing queen. I'm not just doing this to elevate my authority and expertise. Yes, byproduct, and for SEO, also a byproduct, but to have actual content that elevates my authority is another piece of that. So I make a note, was this a video podcast or not? Can they give me the raw files or not? So I can slice and dice and put it up. And I think that's another piece of this podcasting pie that a lot of people forget about is just the sheer amplification that you can have after it even goes live. And people just forget about that. It just baffles me. I see people nodding like, yes, you hear me. Um, so that's been really great. And when people Google me, they see a laundry list of all the podcasts I've been on. And then most recently, um, I had my highest paid speaking gig ever from a host that I had connected with about 6 months ago after we wrapped up our recording. He was like, "Hey, like I run a conference. It's in South Carolina. Is that something you might be interested in speaking?" I was like, "Yeah, of course. Like, is like, part of my frankness, but is it paid?" He was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, "We can talk about logistics later, da da da." So I set an alert to like remind myself to follow up. He followed up with me before I even followed up with him. And he booked me, and it happened a couple weeks ago, and I collected my check, and it was great. And I've even had another host book me or take advantage of my Black Friday deal that I had going on for one-on-one coaching, which I never do. And she remembered me, had been following me on social, and was like, "Oh yeah, okay, I need this like help to like get me back into the social game." So it's been really great in developing a relationship, not just with, of course, like thinking about the audience that you're talking to, but also the hosts that are having you on the podcast, because you just never know who they know or what kind of help that they need. And you're going to be top of mind for them because you've developed this relationship.
Yeah, that's amazing. Our question in the chat is what is the ballpark of pay for podcasting? So we don't like you don't pay the host. What Karlyn's talking about is like she was paid by a host to go speak at their conference.
Yep.
So yeah, and then just book a call. We'll go over our whole program, Michelle. But yeah, once you work with us, like we get you on shows that's earned media. The hosts aren't paying you. You're not paying the host. Like that's a relationship.
Yeah. And I think another win that I've had is you really hit it off with certain hosts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they're like your vibe. And I've done like partnerships with some of them where we've gone live and done a webinar together. And it's like her or his audience or their audience and me, and we all come together. And it's really cool because it's like double exposure. They get, a shout out from my side and I get a shout from there. So it's a really cool collaboration that happened after, right? The episode. So
I love that. And write that down in your workbook. We have a workbook for session 3. So write down who you want to connect with. If you need social media help, write down Karlyn. We're going to get her information. And then takeaways, actions you're going to take. Maybe your action is I'm going to go live with hosts that interview me. So make sure you're taking notes so that you can take action on what you're learning today. All right. So Karlyn, I see you just put it in the chat. Where can everyone find you and connect with you?
yeah, you can find me on Instagram and LinkedIn. I hang out on both of those most often. It's in the chat.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks.
All right. And then another question, Missy asks, is it out of the ordinary to pay a booking fee? And I just wrote, do not recommend. I do not recommend paying hosts if they charge a booking fee. It's not it. It ain't it. There's a difference, like hiring a booking agency like ours, you're paying someone to do a service, which is to find the shows, to research the shows, pitch you. But you don't want to get into the mode of paying hosts to bring you on, because then that lacks integrity. Do they want you because you're paying them, or do they want you because you have value? You want to be on shows where that they see your value, not just your checkbook. Okay. All right. Next up, we have Thurman Tropman. Come on up.
Thank you. Sorry. Listen, real quick. I just need to say before I start speaking that everything that everybody's been saying has me extremely excited. You know what I'm saying? But I'm on camera, so I'm trying not to be rude and like move around. But if I didn't have the camera on me and not be a distraction, I'd be like throwing things everywhere, because everything everybody is saying is literally what I would be saying, because I agree with all of it 100%. I don't even know where to start. I've taken notes, but I'm going to also try to speed through it because I know Wendy has to go. Hi, Wendy. And I don't want to take up a lot of time. So first, let me say that in interview connections, you gotta forgive me. I'm really excited. I'm very good at keep myself tame, but I'm a relax.
Well, introduce yourself first. Like, I want to make sure you get some exposure here. So,
well, yeah, I'm Thurman Tropman, and I help businesses use SharePoint. That's a tool inside of Microsoft 365 Suite. And if you're a project manager, business owner, it doesn't matter. SharePoint is like their best kept secret, in my opinion. I've been using it for like 15 years. I've been in IT for like 20 years, but I've been a problem solver my whole entire, well let me relax. It sounds like a teenager. So yes, the tool I use is SharePoint, but really what I do is help businesses get organized using that tool. Okay, let me just give my points about interview connections. For interview connections, my favorite thing is that they have real people. So in this world of like AI and automation and all that other stuff, and as much as I love technology, being able to connect with real people is one of my favorite things. So, matter of fact, I've gotten some ideas here, and I'm getting ready to send an email off to John as soon as we finish here, because I got to talk to him about some updates I want to make. So, and he's someone inside of the community, one of the great people inside of the community. I can go on all day about them. Also, if you feel like using your voice is something that you're good at, then this is a no-brainer for you, because that's one of the things you get to do on a podcast is use your voice. A lot of podcasts these days also have the visuals up. So if you think you're good with your visuals, that's a bonus. But a lot of people will stick their headphones into their ear and then go wash dishes or something, or put it on their car and go drive. So they're not looking at you. They're going to be listening to you. And if you think you can hold attention with your voice, stop thinking and just book the call. All right, number 3 is this thing that I've adopted. I keep forgetting which one it is. Over the last couple years of my business is promo over product. I don't even care if what you're selling is, well, I do care if what you're selling is garbage, because then I wouldn't buy it. But if what you're selling is garbage, think about it. It doesn't even matter, because if you know people who sell garbage, but they're able to sell that garbage because they amplify their message. So I like to use music as an example. I grew up listening to rap, and I still do dabble in some of the new music. I don't really listen to new music. I listen to a bunch of stuff from the 90s. But today, there's a lot of, in my opinion, garbage on the radio. But that garbage gets played and it gets bought. Why? Because it gets promoted. So it doesn't matter if it's good or not. It matters on like how much can that record label or that company or that person, that artist, distribute that message. So what Interview Connections does for you is they help you distribute your message. Now imagine have to do that on your own. Or imagine there was this thing floating around on Twitter like last year where they was like, would you pay $500,000 to have dinner with Jay-Z? Ridiculous. But would you pay, I don't know, $500 to sit with your target person and have dinner with them? If you would do that, imagine sitting with multiple targets while they're paying attention to you on a podcast. So not dinner with one person, you're having dinner with like 50 people plus on a regular basis. Imagine getting your message out to all those people on a regular basis and you not having to be the person who did all of the groundwork. IC is going to do the groundwork for you. So maybe you go to a conference and you see somebody who you're cool with and you're like, listen, I got this one person that I have to talk to at this conference. Do you think you could get me an intro? Imagine someone doing that for 50 people plus on a regular basis, time and time again. The only thing you have to do, just like a musical artist, is show up and perform. If your verse sucks, then people probably won't listen to you. Go check out your catalog. But if your verse is something that catches their ear and they're like, oh my God, who is this person? What happens? They go to their streaming app and they're like, nah, I got to add this person to my playlist. I swear, I got a whole bunch more things to say, but I have to hurry up. So this is the last thing I want to say. Coca-Cola does not taste better than Pepsi. You understand what I'm saying? But you know what Coca-Cola does better than Pepsi? Promotion. They promote their product way better than Pepsi. And people in taste tests all the time say that Pepsi tastes better than Coca-Cola. But again, it doesn't matter. And Coca-Cola spends a ton of money on marketing. So in your, whatever it is that you do, if you know you have something good and you have a service or a product that can help somebody do better, there's somebody out there who has a product or service that's not as good as yours that's getting it promoted and they're getting that money while you're not. So if you think you have something better, doesn't matter if nobody knows about it. But when people know about it, Now it matters because then they can amplify your message over and over and over again. But imagine having IC do it for you for 30 podcasts at least on a yearly basis. That's it. That's all. Well, I had more, but I got to stop. Wendy, I don't want to take your time. That's it. That's all I got.
Thurman, Sasha says, I absolutely love this TED Talk.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The 90s Pepsi Challenge. Exactly. Yeah. The music industry reference is one I'm going to use all the time. Matter of fact, I was talking to Jess earlier in the week, and we was talking about the Super Bowl. And in my world, Kendrick Lamar was already a big star. Like, he was a big deal from many, many years ago. He was already popping. But he just got on the Super Bowl stage, and the Super Bowl stage is like the biggest podcast ever. So he just featured on their stage, and now he was like the first artist to hit 100 million streams on what is this? On streaming services or Spotify.
Apple Music. Yeah.
Yeah, Spotify. That does not happen if he doesn't get the feature to be placed in front of people. Now, I know the Super Bowl is an exaggerated example, but just think of it on a smaller scale. And his older albums that I've listened to long times ago, a very long time ago, are currently getting streams because his name is now up and, is trending again. So imagine that podcast interview you did 3-4 years ago. Just like I think Dr. Jordan said, it doesn't go away. It's there forever. So when you come and you show up on a podcast and you do your thing, guess what they're going to do? They're going to find that old school stuff or the new school stuff, as long as you make sure you keep on promoting it. And come on, man, like, this is a no-brainer. But again, Wendy, I apologize. Sorry. Thank you,
Yeah.
Jess.
And I see, like, after every Super Bowl, there's always the clickbaits that's like, Kendrick did not get paid for the halftime performance. None of them get paid. They do it for free because their downloads are about to skyrocket because of all the visibility that they get. So as you said, it's an exaggerated example, but it's the same thing. You go on a podcast, you don't get paid for it, but you benefit because of all the exposure you get to that audience. So we're going to put Thurman Tropman, look him up on LinkedIn, Mr. SharePoint. And we're going to go over to Wendy now. Wendy Cole, thank you so much for coming.
Hi, Jessica.
Hi, thank you for being here. You're our finale, our finishing act here. And share with us a little bit about, well, introduce yourself to everyone, who you are, what you do, and what's it been like getting on podcasts.
Okay. Hi, I'm Wendy Cole. I'm a transition mentor who guides individuals through significant life changes. I focus on self-acceptance and personal growth as I assist my clients. And my expertise ranges from supporting transgender individuals and parents of transgender to empowering women entrepreneurs to conquer imposter syndrome and self-doubt. I've personally navigated many significant transitions over my lifetime, including my own gender transition. I bring a unique perspective and proven strategies to help others. So why did I choose podcast guesting and sign up with Jessica in the summer of 2023? My clients are scared and highly closeted, even their parents. And I decided that hypervisibility is the key to attract and build trust in my clients. My mission has refined since working with her. My mission is promoting social change through education and sharing my life experiences to humanize being born transgender for the rest of society while helping people. It's resulted in tremendous personal growth and professional growth and change. It's had a huge impact on my networking and my visibility. I've had numerous wins over since October 23 when I did my first podcast interview. I am currently working on 2 books, which I've been interrupting because I've got other work that I'm doing too, but I'm in the process of finishing edits on one of my books right now. I've attracted a publisher who actually follows me and believes in me. I've written articles, 2 of which have been published by PFLAG. And in October, actually, in Christine Blasdale's mastermind, I met a lovely woman, Lynn Murphy. Cisgender woman, knew very little about the LGBT world, but was asked by her publisher to write a second edition to her book. So she wanted to interview me for a chapter in her book and for her podcast. We started talking in December of 2023. By the spring of 2024, it evolved into a collaboration where we are co-hosting a brand new podcast. I made up the name for it. I'm very proud of it. It's called Demystifying the Transgender Journey. And its purpose is to exactly that, educate society. And to put my voice, I'm using my voice, my experience, and my entire life to change people's perspectives. Jessica's team has been wonderful getting me on all the right podcasts in front of the right people. In fact, the podcast that released about 7 days ago, they edited it so that it's almost like a lecture. And it's a behavioral health podcast. And I'm actually working right now. We're going to be releasing the new podcast at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on February 28th. It launches. 3 episodes go live. And I'm really excited about that. And around that, I have built a community just by attracting people. I've got over 100 people have gathered together. we've had 2 Zoom meetings so far, and it's based on my beliefs that I'm putting a small group of other transgender people like myself together with cisgender people, both gay and straight, parents, medical professionals, psychologists. All of these types of people are joining in. And the whole purpose is to have conversations, to be open, to be authentic, and to actually share what is going on. And so many people have questions and have no framework by which to understand this or anything that I've done. That is what I've become very good at educating people on and providing them with a framework. And through podcast guesting, this never would have happened without podcast guesting.
Yeah.
The whole experience of being in front of an audience, being open, authentic, and vulnerable has been just absolutely amazing.
I love it. I love how your business has grown. I love what you've done with the collaborations, the visibility. I mean, you did an amazing job in 5 minutes because we could definitely talk for so much longer. But the thing that I really want to highlight here, I mentioned it's so important to share your values as a company, as you can see from what, Sue mentioned and from our work with Wendy. We are part LGBTQ owned, operated, we're trans inclusive. That is an incredibly important value at Interview Connections. And to be honest, that's why some people choose not to work with us. But we're not for everyone. And we are for, yes, entrepreneurs that feel like the best kept secret and want to grow their business and get more sales. But the thing that has me most passionate about podcast guesting is the change it creates. Because Wendy is so special because she says, you can ask me anything. Like nothing is off limits. I've heard podcast interviews with her where literally all the questions that people say, like, don't ask a transgender person that's not, she's like, you can ask me anything about anything. And
in fact, I've actually encouraged the hosts, and I've learned how to direct the hosts into question and conversation areas where they would typically be very uncomfortable. But I handle it very well for them.
Yeah. And in a time when transgender and the LGBT community is very much under attack, it's that much more important to share stories and for, to just talk. And because when Brene Brown has a quote that says, it's hard to hate people close up. And the more we can get to know each other at a deep level, which is why podcast guesting is so amazing. You can get to know somebody at a deep level by listening to them on a podcast. It breaks down the misunderstandings and the fears and the judgments and all of that. And so I love that you're here to share your story, because I think it shows that podcast guesting, while it will grow your business, it also creates a lot of change.
Thank you, Jessica. I put my contact information in the chat.
I love it. Well, thank you all so much for being here. Book your consultation call at interviewconnections.com/call. And where can people find you, Wendy, online?
MeetWendyCole.com, and all the rest of my links are in the chat.
Love it. MeetWendyCole.com. Go to interviewconnections.com/call. I am going to go through the Amplified Authority program right now. all of our speakers have spoken. So I'm going to walk you through what it looks like to work with us at Interview Connections, so you know if you should book a call. So when you work with us at Interview Connections, you're going to get booked on 30 podcasts. That's guaranteed. As I mentioned, like when speaking with Jordan, the guarantee is the 30 bookings. Typically that happens over 10 to 12 months because most of our clients are getting on about 3 shows per month, but you get those 30 bookings guaranteed. We're going to design your podcast guesting one sheet and your media kit. So all of the assets that, get you noticed and get you booked, we're going to create that for you. You also get 2 interview audits. So like you come for the bookings, but you get so much support so that you do become this success story. All of our clients here speaking with us and speaking with you and sharing their success story, they get the interview audits. They come to the group coaching calls that we host. They learn and they implement our tips for success. So we provide weekly group coaching calls, interview audits. We have networking calls. So there's a lot of opportunity to get to know other members of our client network, and see what kind of stories you can share with each other, references, referrals you can share. And this program, you can see from this panel, kind of like if you can see yourself in any of our speakers today, I'm sure you have that gut sense of like, yeah, this feels like it's a good fit for me. I really like these people. It sounds like this program is right for me. If you have a successful business and you need visibility to new audiences in order to grow to the next level, like that is the missing piece for you. You, like Thurman said, even garbage businesses grow because they have great promotion. So if your business isn't garbage, I'm adding that into our messaging today, Thurman. You have a great business, but you see other people growing faster. It's because they have the promotion, they have the marketing. So when you add in great visibility and marketing to your business, you will grow so much faster. If you're somebody where your content flows when you're responding, like if I ask you a question, you're like, yeah, if you ask me a question, I'll just talk about my business, I'll talk about my story, then getting on podcasts is a way for you to have content created for you that then you can repurpose and put on your social media, just like Karlyn was talking about. And if you really just know, like as long as you're in front of the right audiences, if you can borrow other people's audiences, if you can network strategically with people that have your target market, that are your target market, that is the key to growth. Then what are you waiting for? Book a call, let's get you on podcast. Now, this program is not for everyone. It is, if you sign up by the 25th, a $16,000 investment if you pay in full, or you can do a payment plan. You can break it up over 10 monthly payments. So that comes down to $1,750. So it's not for everyone. Like if you are just, getting started, you don't have funds to invest, that's okay. It might not be for you. But I want you to make a very clear distinction and ask yourself, just like I was talking with Christina, are you saying it's not a fit because you have that imposter syndrome and it's easier to say I'm not a fit? Or is it actually a fit and there's a little bit of fear and excitement about moving into the next level? Because this will grow your business. It will expand your visibility. And there's going to be an element of that that's a little scary, but that doesn't mean you should not do it. It means you've got to move forward and adapt and grow and calibrate to a new level, which is what's going to happen when you get that visibility. So again, if you're struggling to make ends meet, like it's just not the right fit, that's totally okay. But if like in your gut, in your intuition, you're like, this feels like the right fit, I'm a little nervous, book a consultation call. Either myself or Douglas will have a one-on-one conversation with you. We'll make sure it's a good match for your business. We're not going to pressure you to sign up if it's not a fit, but sometimes we just need that one-on-one conversation to make sure. So again, if you sign up by Tuesday, the 25th, you'll save $1,000. They pay in full is $16,000, or you can do a payment plan, which is 10 payments of $1,750 per month. And also everyone who signs up by Tuesday is going to get our equipment bundle. So I'll send you your microphone that you need, your ring light, a microphone stand, headphones, like everything you need for the interviews. You'll get that as a gift for signing up during the masterclass. And there's a special bonus for those of you who make your investment in full. We're going to do a promotional email to our email list. We'll send an email promoting. Everyone who pays in full is going to go into an email that goes out to our email list. We have over 20,000 people on our email list, small business owners, entrepreneurs. That email list grows every single day because we have ads running every single day. And so you're going to get instant visibility when you choose that pay in full option. And this is great because we have a lot of podcast hosts on our email list. So you'll get bookings before your one sheet's even done. So that is a really great option for those of you who want speed, you want fast results. you want activity right away, then choose that pay in full option. But the first step is to go to interviewconnections.com/call and get your consultation call on the books, because we want to make sure that it's a good fit for you and get all of your questions answered. So I hope that, I'm going to look at the questions here. How long is the typical package? Great question. So it's 30 bookings. For the majority of our clients, it's anywhere from 10 to 12 months. Like Sue mentioned, her package was done a little bit faster because we were just like crushing it with her package and getting her out there. But it can be anywhere from 10 to 12 months, give or take, just depending on the speed of the actual interviews getting secured. So that's the answer to that question. Does anyone else have any questions about the program? Let me know in the chat. Tomorrow, session 4 is going to be all about how to repurpose your podcast interview content for your marketing. So we'll teach you how to use some really cool AI tools to cut up the interviews into social media clips. We'll teach you about using ChatGPT to take the transcripts and turn them into articles and emails and texts and posts and things like that. So it's going to be a super, super actionable session to just show you like how much value you get from being a guest on podcast. So come back for session 4. It's the same time and the same Zoom link. So again, if you want to get booked on podcasts, you want to be the next success story, like you want a taste of what all these speakers have, book your consultation call, because the key to consistent bookings on podcasts, on the right podcast, is working with Interview Connections. It's outsourcing the pitching and booking so you can focus on just showing up and being brilliant, being the guest, while we take care of all of the back end work of finding the shows, vetting them, making sure they're a good fit, securing the interviews, and just letting you be brilliant and shine. So go to interviewconnections.com/call, schedule your consultation call. Our discounts and bonuses end on Tuesday, the 25th. So take action now. Don't kick the tire down the road because you've waited long enough to get this visibility. Let's get you out there on podcasts now. And just one quick note about the timing. This is a long-term strategy. We get you through the onboarding process in month 1, then we're pitching you in month 2. You're starting to record in month 3. So just know that if you sign up now during this February masterclass, it's still going to be a few months till you're actually, getting that visibility on the podcast. Unless you do the painful, you're going to get bookings probably right away from our email list. But if you're like, I'll do this like in the summer, that's actually pushing your results into the 4th quarter of the year. So I want to just give you some very realistic urgency that if you want visibility as a guest on podcasts in 2025, like you got to start now. All right. So book your consultation call at interviewconnections.com/call. And Douglas and I can't wait to talk to you. Again, 6 p.m. Eastern time tonight. You want more from this? You want to talk more about what we discussed in today's session? Douglas will be live in Guest Expert Profit Lab, our Facebook group, at 6 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Pacific. And then we'll be back again for session 4 tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you all so much for being here. It was so wonderful to see you. Thank you to all of our speakers, and we'll see you back here tomorrow. Bye.